Showtime! Everyone, welcome to the Puppet Podcast. Tonight, we are with Hobey Ford. Da-da-da! Hey, good evening, everyone. So, I'm Hobey Caroline, and I'm the host of the Puppet Podcast. I'm so happy to see you again for another episode. We are at episode 76. That's going so awesomely in the Puppet Podcast. We have such good news, good guests coming in. So I'm really happy to see you. So feel free to write to us during the interview from where you are watching, where you are right now, what you enjoy with puppetry, and we want to get in touch with the community. So, and as we want to be in touch, we had created this wonderful Patreon. So here, boom. So it's our Patreon. So for the Puppet Podcast, we have done many workshops, and we have so many great workshops who will come in the future. So stay tuned, have a look on this, and we also give a lot of tools about online promotion, how to promote puppetry online, how to get all over the place as a community, because we want puppetry growing and have a great image online. So stay tuned, have a look on this. So now let's jump into the interview, because tonight we have Hobey, and I was saying Hobey Lord at the beginning. I've done a little mistake with the family names, but he's kind of a lord for puppetry. He is so cool. I'm so happy to have him on the show because he's so talented. So everyone, welcome in the screen, Mr. Hobey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to have you.
One more time. Let's try it again. Here we go. Ready?
2, 3.
Yeah.
So cool.
We'll work on that.
I love this. Yeah. So Hobey, you are right now in North Carolina.
Yes.
Right.
The mountains of North Carolina, the Southern Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, and have no snow on your side.
No, it was like 70 yesterday.
Oh, so, great!
I'm sorry.
We are North Canada, Montreal, and we feel snow is coming soon. But let's jump into our subject.
Right.
And I want you for the beginning to introduce you as a puppeteer for the crowd who watching right now.
All right. Yeah. So I'm a puppeteer who works primarily with children and family audiences. I do library shows, and I do school shows and festivals and that kind of thing. And another important part of my work is I'm a teaching artist. I do arts integration with the Kennedy Center. So that's a big part of my work. And that work takes me in North Carolina and other states into schools to really teach the art form, but also have some curricular thing that goes with it, like folk tales. And so I'm getting ready to work with Cherokee children in the Cherokee Reservation, and they'll learn shadow puppetry, but then I want them to put their culture, their history and stories, bring them to life with puppetry. So, and I make a lot of puppets. I'm a puppet nerd.
I like this. You're a puppet nerd. You're a geek.
And proud. Geeks, puppet geeks rule. So.
That's cool. That's so cool. And that's such a great introduction into bring teaching with art. So that's awesome. I want to know the why, like what makes for you the art of puppetry an art that you cherish.
Yeah. What I love about puppetry is I'm sort of a multifaceted personality. I have lots of different interests. I'm interested in photography. I'm interested in drawing. I'm interested in woodworking and engineering. I love music. I love storytelling. I love teaching. And but I was going to be a visual artist, but then I closed my eyes one Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve in 1976, and I was, what am I going to choose? I have all these interests. Why am I going to do any certain one of them? And all of a sudden, a face of a puppet appeared to me, but it was a face of a Swami, Paramahansa Yogananda, and I'd been reading Autobiography of a Yogi, and his face appeared, and I said, "Oh, I'll paint paintings of master gurus or something like that." And then the face turned into a puppet, a marionette head, and I realized that puppetry would be the perfect fit for me. And I began making puppets, and I've been doing it ever since. And I love that I can tap into all these different parts of myself and not just do one thing. And it's fun. I love to travel and like working with kids, and so the whole thing, every aspect of it, it's always challenging. I've never gotten bored with it because there's always something new to try to figure out.
Yeah, that's true. That it's a multidisciplinary job, and we are not bored at all because, yeah, always a new challenge. So cool.
Yeah.
yeah. We love each other. I like the student. Yeah, and ooh, we love puppetry.
Yeah.
And yeah, ding ding ding. I want also to know your crush moment for puppets, and do you have like some specific influence from the past?
Yeah, well, I went to a boarding school and I was terribly homesick. I was the most homesick kid there. I was in 5th grade, and my parents were divorcing, and they sent me away so they could work out their divorce. And I was just miserable. I knew what was going on. And I'd always get my homework done, because if I didn't, I couldn't go home on a weekend and see them. So when they said, "Who has their homework done?" I raised my hand, and they said, "The marionette show this afternoon, they need helpers." So I got to go help set up this David Sirodiak's National Marionette Theater and see the show. And it totally blew my mind. And all of a sudden I thought, like, wow, that is so special. But then it kind of went to sleep, and many years later it popped up, and I thought, this is exactly what I want to do. But that moment of seeing those, and I just seen, like, I went to see Sound of Music 9 times in the movie theater to see The Lonely Goat Herd. So so I was really into, I saw Bill Baird's work, and I went and met Bill Baird when I was 18. And he asked me, I went to get his autograph, and he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Hobey Ford." And he said, "Oh, you're from Rowayton, Connecticut, and I knew your grandfather, and we were sailing buddies." And he even had been to a party, and no one had ever told me, and they knew I loved puppets, and he lived right next door, and I missed that. But he then took me upstairs and showed me his marionette bridge, and I walked out like 8-10 feet above the stage and tried out the marionettes. And that the feeling of a well-crafted marionette, that thrilled me. That thrilled me to the core. It was so well engineered, and the art and the sculpture and everything just came together. It was so gorgeous. And I hung my head and said, "I can't make my marionettes do that." And he said, "Come on with me." And he was really old at the time. He was toward the end of his career. And we went up 3-4 stories to his workshop, and he showed me how he put puppets together and how to do this and mechanical things. And I just went home and worked on all of that for weeks. And it was like a master course in about an hour. He spent about an hour and a half with me, showing me things. And it just thrilled me.
Yeah, that's such a precious moment to have like a master like this, and just transmitting the passion towards this art form. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, for your opinion for the path of study for someone who wants to become a puppeteer, what would be the best to do?
I think the biggest thing, I think it's great to be influenced by other puppeteers. Like lots of puppeteers are very influenced by Jim Henson, and
That's true.
I think they just want to become Jim Henson in a way, but that's taken already, you know? And so it felt really important to me when I was getting started. I went and tried to get a job at the Muppets, and the woman pulled me into the office and she said, "You don't want to do this. You should go home and do your own thing. You've got some good ideas. Go do your own thing." It was the best advice. And I just went back and spent a couple of years, you know, living in a shack, making puppets every day so I could pay the rent. And I could afford to just make puppets because I lived in a little cabin in Appalachia. And it was wonderful. It was a good experience.
Yeah, so you would say to learn by yourself and do it a lot is the way to learn.
I think it's great and important to be influenced by people, but to really find what are you trying to do, and maybe you journal and write it out. And like I came an apprentice. There was a puppeteer, Clyde Hollifield, and he had made this little puppet. He's given it to me since he's retired. And I wanted to make this puppet, and That's so I really wanted to just copy him and be him. And then I was really relieved when all of a sudden I started tuning into my own ideas, and I started carving foam rubber and doing things like that, and made my own path. And his inspiration and learning from him was really important. Like the engineering he taught me was priceless. But I wouldn't be satisfied just copying him. And so finding your own inspiration and setting out on your own path, I think, is so important, because the world wants to see what you're all about, not what your interpretation of Jim Henson or Bill Baird or something like that. And so they're good college programs. You know, UConn in Connecticut has a wonderful program. I apprenticed, and interesting story, about 3 or 4 years ago, a woman from Beijing, China contacted me, a young puppeteer, and wanted to study with me. And I thought maybe a week or something. And she said, "No, I want to come for 6 months." And I thought about it, and I said, "Whoa." And so I agreed, because I'd had an apprenticeship of sorts, a master teach me. And I thought, I want to give this back. And so I taught her everything I know, and she was a fast learner. Her name is Ping Ling, and I'll post a movie she made. I'll put a little link up here afterwards of where you can see the little video for her final project. But now she tours all over China, and she sort of made it her own thing. She's gone in her own little direction, but she really loved the small animal puppets, the little puppets of this sort of character, this sort of scale, and created puppets like that. And then I took her to meet my teacher, who lives about an hour from us, and she became very close to him. And I told her that you have to take a young person and teach them everything you know. That's your payment for my teaching you. So she's going to have an apprentice one day.
Wow, that's such a good way to teach and like put it into the will, like you want others to do the same. That's so true. And I want to ask you the definition that you use when you have to describe a puppet, as you are a teaching artist also. How you define in your own word a puppet?
Well, you know, we know now that a puppet doesn't have to look like one. It doesn't have to be a marionette or a hand puppet. We know that your hands can become puppets, or an object can become a puppet if you treat it in the right way. You can really turn anything into a puppet. And so it's taking an object and putting a soul into it and creating action. And I think I look at puppets as not nouns, like a person, place, or thing, but a verb. I think puppets are all about action. if they don't act, if they don't have action and animation, and animation, I love that word because it really means literally to breathe life into something. And so if it's your hand, or if it's some object or a little puppet, what are you going to do with it? Just having it breathe even is really powerful.
Yeah, that's so true. And I wonder, because you are the inventor of the Peepers, like the little eyes, I want to know how the moment like arrived to just say, I will do that. I will make that like going all over those eyes, because I met a lot of people and they have those. So that's so interesting. How this inspiration come?
Yeah, so, a lot of people had worked with their hands. There have been a lot of puppeteers. Yves Joly, famous French puppeteer, did a lot of work with just a glove on a hand and maybe a handkerchief. Or then there was a wonderful children's book called Hanimals, like using the word hand, but making animals with your hands. And he would paint like a killer whale on his hand and just have a painting of it. And so that idea kind of came to me, and I was playing around with a couple of marbles and put them on my hand, and really quickly I could see the possibility of it. And so I got some little friendly plastic, that little rice kind of material. You put it in water, and you melt it, and I put some marbles in it. So I made a little set of my eyes, and they work great. And I started making them and showed friends, and everyone wanted one. And so a friend of mine went into business with me and helped me manufacture them and get the whole thing started. And then it just took off. And I thought I could retire until the Chinese toy market copied it and flooded the US with cheap imitations of it. That was sad. That was hard.
Yeah, you must have, like, you start with a bright idea and you saw that happening. That's kind of sad about copying, but we were talking of this. And so I want to know if you feel our art is in an ascension, is getting more popular in your viewpoint or not.
Oh, I definitely think so. There's more puppetry going on now in the world than ever when I first got started. I think that it's become respectable. When I told my dad I wanted to be a puppeteer, and he was a New York City businessman, and he was like, "Oh." But when I made the Peepers, he was finally proud of me, and he appreciated it then. But yeah, I think puppetry is ascending. It's on so many levels. There's adult puppetry and film. I think it's just growing and growing in a wonderful way.
Yes, and you have work in the film industry. How is it for you?
I'm working with very small puppet filmmakers. I'm not working on any huge movie things like that, but it's even better that way because it's a more intimate kind of thing. And I worked on a horror movie, and I actually was asked to perform in it. And we have a whole set out in my woods that's still there. That movie will probably get some that he'll get it out there pretty big, I'm pretty sure. But it's been fun. It's something I've always wanted to get into. And I think film is especially intriguing because you have so much control, and you can just sort of stop and reset and bring a lot into it. As a solo puppeteer, when I go and perform, I have to have everything right there, go live. With film, you can stop and create new sets and shift things and get helpers to come in for a few hours and that kind of thing. I'm hoping there'll be a lot. I think COVID is going to result in, they say, oh, a lot of babies are going to be born. Well, a lot of puppet films are going to be made right now.
True. A lot of online opportunity and sharing of art. It's so great. I agree so much. And I want to know as you're talking, your purpose for the future. Like, what do you see for the career, your dream for the future?
Yeah, well, I still have to make a living. I'm getting toward retirement age, but I still have to bring in money. So I'll always tour a little bit, and I'm hoping with this grant to create a virtual studio where I can work live and interact and with several cameras and have a little switcher board and all of that kind of thing. I think I'd like to work more virtually now that we've all been getting into this. I still want to work in person, but this is one of the blessings of COVID and the pandemic is I know I don't want to spend half my year living in a motel room anymore.
Yeah. As the touring life, you said, okay, I know that.
Yeah, the touring life is hard. You've done it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know the path to change and move, and yeah, it's hard for family and stability.
Yeah, and also it's like, I'm in my 60s now, and there's a certain okay, I want people to remember my work. And so I wrote a book about puppetry. We'll post something about that at the end, a link.
Yes.
But I also want film. I want to sort of reach some goals that I couldn't reach through live performance. There's a boreal forest, which is like a Canadian forest. If you go 600-700 miles north from North Carolina, where I live, you get to a kind of forest where there are no leaves that change colors. It's all evergreen, like firs and pines and things like that. Well, there's one, we live right near the highest point on the East Coast called Mount Mitchell, and it's over a mile in elevation. And that forest exists about an hour and a half from me. I'd have to travel 2 or 3 days to Canada to be there, but the whole landscape is covered with mosses, and the trees, the roots are all covered with mosses. It's like a Brian Froud set, like the Dark Crystal. And I want to go up there and get little doors and windows and have them all ready to just plug into little trees here and there and do filming up in the boreal forest and do some magical little puppet films up there.
Wow, that's such a purpose. I want to see that. It will be amazing. That's so cool. And that's true that we need to find in nature some inspiration to connect with our goal, with one artistic stuff that we want to achieve.
Nature has always been a really important factor in my shows. So almost all of them, like one day I walked into my field and there was a little butterfly weed, and a little caterpillar turned into a chrysalis. And then I watched and later saw it turn into a butterfly. And I got about 4 or 5 years of performances out of 2 shows that were all about that whole topic, migration and metamorphosis. And so nature will often give me ideas of what I'd like to do.
Yes. And it's such a great creative process to just connect with nature. That's so true. And I want to know, where do you see puppetry in 10 years?
In 10 years, oh gosh.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to answer, but.
Yeah, if it's hard to see where the world's going to be in 10 years, but it may be that our infrastructure crumbles and we're living on a more local, going back 200 years, but puppetry will fit in really well there. or maybe we're going to cruise forward and have virtual puppet shows, and we'll all put on 3D goggles and be walking around in the set with all the puppets. I've thought about that. I had a 3D goggle experience and realized this has powerful puppetry potential, but it won't happen until that technology is in everyone's living room, and you're in the film, you're in there with it. And I think that's exciting. I think I want to get into that if I can. So I keep up with the young people who know how all these things work, and I work with them.
Yes, that's true. We need to connect with technology and young fellow who discover new stuff. That's true. So, and Hobey, I want to let you know that we are people watching from Philippines.
Hey,
we have Wanlu who is there, and we have Sergio who is watching from Colombia. So,
hola,
and that's cool.
Yeah.
Hola, yay! So we have other friend who say hi and have a admiration. Sergio say mi admiración total. So
Yeah.
I think it's connection, good connection.
And that's something, for 30 years I worked without internet, and then in the last 10, 20 years, internet has come in, and social media is such a wonderful thing. People criticize it, but the ability to have a relationship with a puppeteer in 5,000 miles away and be able to just, oh, hey, how are you doing? What's happening? Oh, let's see what you're doing in your studio outside of Paris, and what are you doing in China or the Middle East, and Egyptian puppetry and Asian puppetry and South American, Central American puppetry. It's such a powerful medium, and I'm hoping that the way we're sort of fumbling around working virtually now with Zoom meetings and all of that, art can come to that technology, and when it does, I think there's a possibility of doing performance with people who are thousands of miles away, but not having it look like a Zoom call, but something very sophisticated and crafted. I think that's exciting too.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that's where we have to go. And yeah, as you said, we have people watching from UK, so we can be all connected
from the UK.
Yes, that's so cool. And yeah, to build this kind of art form in long distance could be really interesting. I totally agree that puppetry could go in that way. Yeah, so Hobey, for the conclusion, do you have some friend around that you want to bring to the screen?
Oh yeah.
Some verb.
A verb, yeah. I've been experimenting with modern dance puppets, and there's a puppeteer named Mo Mowgli in France who came up with this control of having these looped wires going down to the feet. And I asked him if I could experiment with this for a dancing puppet, because his puppets are really articulated. So this is one I've been experimenting with, and it's going to be for a film I'm going to work with. She's going to be the spirit of springtime, and everywhere she dances, little plants pop up and grow around her. She's awakens, the spring awakening kind of thing. So I'm experimenting with this sort of style of manipulating a puppet. And another one that I've been working with is an even smaller one. I really love this one, but I love this miniature scale for working, and film makes this possible. I can do things with these little puppets that are very compelling, and yet it's only 5 or 6 inches tall.
Yes, with the screen is really powerful. I think it could come close and go far, and we see all of this.
Yeah.
Grace.
So I began with these little puppets 42 years ago. After I got into marionettes, I quickly got into these rod puppets, but they're too small for performance. I could fly a little fairy like this through the audience, but on film, I can really use these, and people can see the detail of the puppet, and
yeah. Wow, we can see those beautiful wings also.
I'm excited to be working with these.
Yeah, and that's like in your boreal forest. I think this could perfectly fit the fairy of the forest. Wow, that's so cool. Thank you so much, Hobey, for your time, your talent, your inspiration. That's such a moment.
And thank you for what you're doing with these video broadcasts, these podcasts. It's wonderful. I love it.
Thank you. We do it with a lot of passion, and we want to connect everyone. So if people want to reach you, to see more of your work, to contact you, where they should watch or go?
They can go to Facebook and reach me. And I'm going to just type out my email if anyone wants to email me with questions. And I'll let you all post this afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I will put the email just below the interview.
Yeah.
So you could email Hobey. That's good. And you have your book also. Maybe you want people.
Yes. My book is called Rod Puppetry, and the publisher is called Lulu. So if you go to Google and Lulu, Lulu, and Rod Puppetry, it'll come right up, and you can order it and actually print it in Europe, or they print it in Asia, wherever you are, they print it nearby and ship it right out to you, so you don't have outrageous shipping. And it involves a lot of wood carving and things like that, but I just want to tell people that they can also use polymer clays, and they don't have to be carved puppets. They can be clay puppets as work just as well. So.
Oh. That's great. Yeah, totally. Oh, we ding dong here. Yeah, so totally. We could have everyone order this book and know more about your work. So thank you so much, Hobey. I will remove you from the screen, but stay in the virtual studio just a minute. We can talk. Oh yeah.
One last thing is that people can also Google Rod Puppetry, Lulu, and ebook, so you can get it digitally very inexpensively. If you want to get it real cheap, you can get it very inexpensively as an ebook, electronic book.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ruby, now just put the address right now, so it's right there for the book. So thank you, Hobey, and yeah, let's stay in touch. We could chat after this interview. I just removed for the conclusion. So bye. Almost in. Hey everyone, thank you for watching this excellent episode. So feel free to share it, to post it on your wall, on groups. And yes, if you get the chance to watch our Patreon, it's just here. This is the address. And we have wonderful workshop. We will do stuff about also online streaming, how to stream, how to get more internet stuff coming, because I think it's the need and the want, and we want to do some research on that. So everyone, I have a moment here that was so fun. So yeah, we have 3 podcasts next week. So stay tuned. It's some rock on guests also. So I will wish you a wonderful night or evening or morning. What Philippine was watching. So however, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful day. Keep creating and let's keep going. Bye.